we're gonna begin with our first presentation. Like I said, your journey into the digital world has just only begun. And we shall kickstart by shedding some light on the brief history of biometric registries and what developments lie in the future. Now, ladies and gentlemen, with that, all the way from Slovakia, we have Fejes, our Regional Sales Manager of Innovatrix, who will be talking to us on enhancing digital public infrastructure and streamline processes with biometrics. Ladies and gentlemen, Fejes.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and once again, welcome to BioCon Malaysia 2023. First of all, on behalf of the main sponsor, Innovatrix, let me express our gratitude and appreciation for all of you being here today. It's our great honor to be part of this very important event. This event is indeed very important, since Malaysia is one of the most advanced and mature user of biometric technologies in the entire region. This country started to use biometric technologies in a nationwide scale when I was this big probably, which was a very long time ago, of course. But in the meantime, the world of biometrics has been taking a very long journey, and the wind of change is coming. The new era of biometric technologies and their applications is knocking on the door, and their adoption is inevitable. For a country like Malaysia, with such a massive usage of biometric technologies, of course this change will have a huge impact. But whether this impact is positive or not is all in your hands right now. My name is Fejes, and I'm here today to take you to a journey of the evolution of trends in biometric technologies. We cannot forecast the future without understanding the past. Biometrics, just like everything else, has always had different trends created by different trendsetters. Looking at some of those generations and the history of these generations, we can observe some sort of patterns and reveal some predictions of what's coming next. So let's try to put some of these most significant events of the modern history of biometric technologies on a timeline. Our story begins in 1974, when the FBI in the United States deploys the very first AFIS, Automated Fingerprint Identification System, in the world. Before the first AFIS, FBI was using such huge storage facilities, storing hard copies of fingerprint profiles, paper cards with ink prints, more than 20 million of them. And the fingerprint search was done manually by the experts of the FBI. One single search of one fingerprint profile took 30 to 45 days, almost 2 months. But with this new system, with this new AFIS of the FBI, they were able to run through more than 100,000 fingerprint profiles within 30 minutes, which shortens the search time to 4 to 5 days. In 1995, the UK police deploys the first DNA database for law enforcement. This database still exists today. It has more than 6 million DNA profiles, and it has resolved more than 700,000 crime cases within the past 20 years. The year is 1998, and something very important and interesting is happening. Malaysia is the first country in the world issuing an e-passport. This e-passport contained fingerprint and face biometric information, just like the e-passports we know today. But the fun fact is that, and you probably know this much better than me, the fun fact was that this biometric information was not stored in this passport according to the ICAO standard, which we know today. The reason was that this first Malaysian e-passport, or the world's first e-passport, came a bit ahead of the time, and this ICAO requirement came a bit later. It only took 3 more years, and Malaysia issued the first MyCard, which stores fingerprint and face biometrics on the chip. It was the first national identity card in the world storing these two biometric modalities on the chip. Within these 3 years, Malaysia became a pioneer and a very early adopter of biometric technologies for national identification. In 2004, the Department of Homeland Security in the United States deploys biometric capturing devices at border control. This was part of the US visit program, which was triggered by 9/11 and the terrorist attacks in 2001 to increase the security of US borders. Of course, the United States were not the first country using biometric technologies. Within the same period of time, among the first pioneers were also Japan, Germany, the Netherlands, Israel, and UAE. In 2007, Australia becomes one of the first countries piloting face recognition for smart gates at the airports for immigration clearance. This was initially piloted at Brisbane Airport and then eventually rolled out to multiple airports in Australia and New Zealand to improve the speed of the immigration clearance between these two countries. A bit later, in 2009, a very unique and important event takes place. India rolls out Aadhaar. Aadhaar is one of the first fully digital national ID systems in the world, and until today, the largest biometric system in the world, containing more than 1 billion records with all 3 biometric modalities: fingerprint, face, and iris. The reason why Aadhaar is unique is that Aadhaar is not a card. Aadhaar is just a number, a randomly generated unique identification number assigned to every citizen, which requires an instant biometric identity verification every time the citizen applies for some sort of government service. Of course, this raised a few questions and concerns back then, but let us talk about this in a couple of minutes. In 2015, the UK police first deploys face recognition for law enforcement. Some of the major cities in the United Kingdom were full of these vehicles equipped with real-time face recognition cameras. After a few arrests and, of course, a lot of criticism, these technologies, as we all know, were heavily restricted or banned in some of the major cities of the United Kingdom. 2018, the beginning of the eKYC era, or the remote onboarding for banks. HSBC is one of the first banks deploying smartphone-based face recognition to onboard new customers, open new bank accounts, and to verify the identity of their existing customers. This technology is deployed in 24 countries. This is one of the first steps towards what we call digital national ID today, although we had no idea where this was heading at that time. Speaking of digital national ID, in 2020, Singapore extends the SingPass mobile application with face recognition and liveness check. SingPass is a mobile application which is essential part of Singapore's digital national ID program. Since 2020, Singapore citizens are able to access government services remotely using the SingPass mobile application via remote and completely automatic face identity verification and liveness check. Iris recognition at immigration and border control was for the first time used in a larger scale by the UAE. The UAE was trying to remain open during the COVID-19 pandemic as much as possible. Having said that, as early as in February 2021, Emirates operated flights to more than 100 destinations. To prevent the spread of the virus, the Dubai airports deployed biometric iris capturing devices. at border control as a replacement for the more traditional fingerprint capturing devices. Of course, the biggest advantage here was the fact that iris was touchless, which was a huge advantage back then, right? And last but not least, early this year, 2023, Thailand rolls out the first digital national ID program. The Thai ID mobile application is an extension of the existing national ID infrastructure in Thailand, employing OCR, liveness detection, face recognition, identification, and verification technologies to enable Thai citizens to access government and other services online in their mobile application. We will be hearing a lot more about Thai ID, SingPass, and immigration solutions in the next couple of presentations. So now, having this nice, clear overview of the past, I think it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see what's coming next. So let's take a look at our prediction. What new trends and best practices can we expect in biometrics in the next couple of years? And let's try to look at it from a use case perspective. The first use case being immigration. Of course, the most used biometric modalities at immigration and border control have always been fingerprint and face. Fingerprint because of the accuracy of the biometric matching in a large-scale database, and face because of the convenience of capturing, and also the simplicity of matching the face against the passport photo, even if the passport is a non-e-passport. But it's crystal clear now that the new kid on the block is iris. Unlike in the past, capturing devices for iris are becoming affordable, so this is not the obstacle anymore. And in the meantime, iris recognition technologies are becoming equally or more accurate than fingerprint matching technologies for large-scale databases. Apart from that, capturing is becoming as convenient as face capturing, completely touchless, which means that iris modality and iris recognition has the full potential to combine state-of-the-art accuracy of the biometric matching in a large-scale database with all the advantages of what we call seamless travel. Let's look at the next use case, which is national identification. In national identification, again, touchless and remote are going to be the keywords of the next few years. Face recognition empowered digital national ID solutions are emerging in the entire world. Although the very obvious benefit of these technologies are, of course, providing government services remotely, without leaving my living room, without visiting a government office, remote identity verification, secure identity verification, and so on. But I think the most unique and the most paradigm-changing benefit or advantage of these solutions is hidden under the surface. Instead of solving it, biometric digital national ID solutions completely remove the problem of ID document authenticity verification. Plastic cards, even with all their security features, are always issued based on a one-time single biometric identity verification of the citizen, which happens during the card application process. And then this long-term plastic carrier of this single government approval is used by the citizen for years, giving time to fraudsters to polish their faking skills. Digital national IDs, on the other hand, do not rely on a plastic card necessarily. Digital national ID is not a card, it's a number, stored securely by a government-owned backend data center. And every time a citizen applies for a service which requires some sort of identity verification, an instant identity verification is done by this government-owned secured backend data center. And a real-time approval is generated for that citizen instead of relying on a non-trained human supervisor or operator looking at a plastic card printed years ago. Let's talk about law enforcement. Law enforcement solutions are probably the most traditional among all use cases of biometrics. I don't think the use cases and the workflows are going to change dramatically in the next few years. However, the underlying technologies are definitely. The new generations of latent fingerprint matching engines provide multiple times higher accuracy of searching latent fingerprint and solving unsolved cases. And of course, this happens within a fraction of the processing time. New lifting devices help investigators to collect latent fingerprints at crime scenes. Much easier, much faster, without all the mess with powders and brushes, and of course maintaining the best possible quality of those impressions. Face recognition technologies are helping investigators analyzing hundreds of hours of video footages collected from CCTV cameras, VMSs at crime scenes. These face recognition technologies are able to process videos 10, even 20 times faster than the actual duration, picking up all the faces and instantly identifying them in a criminal database. So now, ladies and gentlemen, we have shown you some of the next episodes within the most critical use cases of biometrics for governments. These use cases are typically implemented by solutions owned by the respective government authorities. But there is one more thing that we can see coming, and that is collaboration. We took a walkthrough of the fundamental use cases and their responsible authorities, like police, immigration authorities, National Registry Department, digital national IDs, and third-party enterprises like banks. However, there is something beyond that, something that we can already see coming in multiple countries. These authorities have a huge potential for a huge synergy by collaborating and sharing data. We can already see the need for identification services between police and national registry departments, similarly between immigration departments and police. We can already see the need for digital national ID programs, not only enabling government services within the issuing government authority, but even for other government agencies in form of remote identity verification and other third-party enterprises like banks. We can also see the need for digital identification methods helping immigration authorities to improve the speed of the immigration clearance by providing digital remote pre-clearance platforms or digital remote visa application platforms. Is it scary? Of course it is, a little bit. It's new. It's part of human nature that we are either curious or scared when we see something new, especially at the dawn of such a new age, full of frustration created by something that we call AI, right? Which empowers all these biometric technologies. But luckily, history as always has the answer. So how to get ready for this new age? Crash tests. We need crash tests. Not all cars are good. We all know that today. But there was a time, late 19th century, early 20th century, when commercial car manufacturing began, when new car brands were born much more frequently than today. The market of car manufacturing was crowded, and buyers didn't know which brand eventually turns out to be good or bad, or safe or unsafe. Brands like Tucker, Kaiser Frazer, Edsel, we don't even know them today, they did not really have a long lifespan. However, people were buying their poor quality cars because they didn't know how to evaluate those brands back then. Today, of course, we have trusted and reputable car crash test authorities answering all these questions. Today, the emerging market of remote identity verification is 100 times more crowded than the car manufacturing was in the last century. And the trusted and reputable crash test authority for biometric technologies is called NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology. The NIST benchmarks and standards and assessments and reports are, of course, very hard to read. So that's why we compiled a very simple vendor evaluation checklist for you, only using these independent and publicly available information. This gives you a simple guideline for shortlisting vendors and rejecting those which are not likely to be around for a very long time. This checklist, the full checklist, is available via this QR code. Please feel free to download and use it. Eventually, it has become very clear that which car brands are good, which car brands are safe, or which car brands are bad. However, even good cars can be used the wrong way, the dangerous way, right? Similarly to this very scary AI thing, which can be very powerful, it can have a very good quality, but it can be used for good things and bad things. Therefore, what we need, apart from crash tests, are seatbelts. The commercial car manufacturing started in the late 19th century. However, seatbelts became mandatory 50 years later. Hundreds of thousands of people were killed on the roads until the world realized that we need strict regulations which must be exposed on car manufacturers, forcing them to install seatbelts in their cars. This doesn't mean that those cars are bad cars. And this will not stop those car makers making their cars. But these cars will be used the safe way, the right way. To make sure AI-powered biometric technologies are used the right way, we also need regulations. We must make sure that technologies are respecting privacy. They avoid dual use. With fairness in mind, we have to make sure technologies avoid any kind of bias. We have to make sure these technologies make transparent decisions, visible to humans, and those humans have the option to override the decision if necessary. We must learn from the past mistakes and implement these regulations on time so we can enjoy the benefits of these new technologies without the potential risk. With all these precautions in place, we can create a society built on trust, collaboration, and synergy brought by AI-powered biometric technologies. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Mate. Thank you so much for kickstarting our event here today with your first presentation. Thank you.